And you're now listening to Swampland TV podcast. Yo, it's your boy Pass, man, and right now we're in for another episode of Swampland TV podcast, man, and we got a legend in this tang, man. We got a culture boy legend, man. We got a homie, we got some fam, and it's really about to go down for the future, for real, for everybody. So, shout out to the homie. We got Arcade Press on here, young Arcade Future.
Yes, welcome. Thank you for having me. We out here.
We out here, man, and people actually get to, hear your voice, bro, and peep the vibe and peep the energy, because you're a star being, dog. So people need to know, and I
appreciate that.
I was super hyped when you hit me up to get on, and I was like, man, I'm super excited to hit these boys with this one. So yeah,
man. Appreciate that. Like I said, I saw your videos online and thought it was dope, and definitely thought we needed to connect, and I'm glad we could just make it happen. I like it direct to consumer. I like it underground. I like it straight up. So the fact that we could just connect, boom, and now we live, that's how I like to do it.
It's facts, bro. And I'm the same way. I'm super the same way, letting it develop organic and giving it space to breathe and giving it space to be real and genuine, all the time, bro. So let's get up into this, man. Let's get into this. So I always ask all the guests questions like these the first time around, but what was the first game that you couldn't put down, man? The first video game, doesn't matter which one.
Yeah, I would say it would be either Tekken 2 or Killer Instinct on Super Nintendo. It'd be one of them two. The first game I know that I like properly no-lifed, where I just grinded everything in it, was Soul Blade. I think from 95, I think is when it came out. That was like the first game that I was just like, every single aspect of that game I love, and it's still one of my favorite games of all time. It's like the music, the characters, the stages, the weapons, the vibe of that game, every single thing about that game, Soul Blade, I love. I mean, I also am a big fan of Tekken 2, of course, and of course Killer Instinct is god level, but Soul Blade was like another level for me. So I would say probably first would probably be maybe Tekken 2. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because I think Tekken 2 might have been the first fighting game I played. It could have been, there could have been like some Shaq Fu before that. There could have been
some Sega in there, some Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Exactly. And like Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 2, but it's hard to tell exactly what came first. But I do think Tekken 2 did come first, and then I went back and played all those old school games. So that's how I think it went.
Facts, yeah. That's dope, man. And I really love Tech 2. Like, Tekken 2 actually has my favorite intro song, just how the beat hits. It's so like, 90s directors like, ooh, we about to throw some hands.
Oh yeah, the music on Tekken 2 is unbelievable. It's got that late 80s sound. It's still, very Prince inspired. Yeah, great soundtrack. Great soundtrack. So and it's like Peter Gabriel inspired. It's got that old, like it's pop. It's 80s pop. So I love that.
80s pop. It's that vibe, man. It high key reminds me of like it's just one of those things where it puts me in the ambiance of Yakuza 0 and the disco era where you playing the mini games. Like, so I always enjoyed those energies. So like, those, you said those are your first games you couldn't put down. So I wonder if it was one of those that pertains with this next question, but what got you into the actual fighting game community? Like, do you think it was one of those specific games, or do you think it was like later on down the line where you were like, oh, I'm this game is getting me into the FGC?
Yeah, I mean, the FGC was definitely probably, it almost felt like an urban legend, probably back in the 90s, though it was happening. We interviewed Ryan Hart, the prodigal son, and he talked about playing Tekken 3 back in the day for a tournament, and for money and stuff like that, and that's pretty incredible to think about. But I would say like it definitely wasn't until the 2000s where I started getting into the, quote FGC, and I want to say it was around Street Fighter 4, I would say. Is when I was like trying I would say Tekken 6 maybe. Tekken
Hmm.
6.
Okay.
Um
That's a good time.
yeah, so a quick timeline is like, so Tekken 6 came out in like 2009, and I started playing that and really enjoyed it. And then I think Level Up Your Game with Rip, and he started doing with MYK and the gang. They started doing these tutorial breakdowns of how to play Tekken, which I didn't even know there was all this hidden tech and hidden knowledge in Tekken. And they started breaking it down, like get
Hmm.
throw breaks, and that you couldn't parry knees, like different shit like that I
Shit,
just didn't
again.
know. Yeah, crazy stuff. And then Street Fighter 4, or not then Street Fighter 4. I think Street Fighter 4 came out a little bit earlier, but earlier. All these games were leading into a lot of YouTube content, and I was watching a lot of it. So that kind of introduced me to the broader world. Of course, I knew there was like Ryan Hart videos on Tekken 5 and stuff, but like when Tekken 6 and Street Fighter 4 came out, YouTube was like on another level.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so I just started watching those videos and stuff like that. And what was the first game? I think Tekken Tag 2 was the first game I competed in. And I didn't do well. It was my first major tournament, but I thought it was way nicer than I actually was. But I did my thing. I held it down. I knew some fundamentals. I wasn't really noob, but
Yeah, I
I
was
did go.
decent. I was decent. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing my thing. I mean, I won a couple rounds. You know what I'm saying? I did some basic stuff, but that was an awakening for me. Is like how deep the Tekken universe is. But yeah, I competed in Tag 2, and that was off the strength of all the YouTube content that was out there, and majors were really starting to grow, and yeah, so that was kind of Tag 2. And also, it's crazy story. I met this guy, at a video store. I rented Tag 2 because I was in
Hmm.
college, and I rented Tag
Hmm.
2, and he worked there and was like, "Oh, you like fighting games?" He's like, "Come link with me. We're gonna go to this guy's house and we're gonna play all these fighting games." And that brought me into like my first sort of like offline event. So anyway, that's kind of what
Word.
happened. Was kind
That's
of
tight.
what.
That's perfect, bro. That's the perfect way to experience it. Where, oh, you like you? I'll take you to the dojo, bro.
Yeah, and that's basically how it was.
That's awesome. That's super amazing, man. Because man, those were the essential, the true FGC times where people had to, rent from Blockbuster, rent from Blockbuster
Yeah,
or
man.
whatever it may be, and then Redbox, they started doing their thing also. But literally, I think
Yeah,
that's the
yeah. Shout
best
out to
time.
Hollywood Videos and Blockbuster. Shout out.
Ah, shout out to Hollywood Video. Come on, man. So that's a thing, man. So, all right, you go on this continued journey of the fighting games and all these things, man. So, when did you first decide that I want to, I want to show more people the culture of fighting games and these things that I'm passionate about? That's all tying to fighting games and the design and the aesthetics and the creativity of it all. When did you think
Yeah,
you
man.
first
Great
started?
question.
When did you first start feeling that rush to be like, I think this is the direction?
I think, man, it was back in, I want to say 2017, maybe 20. Man, actually earlier than that. Like,
Hmm.
bro, like I started making music, and I linked up with some guys, and we made a group that was inspired by arcades, and we did that in like 2015.
It's tight.
And
That's tight.
a- yeah, it was crazy. And after that, I started working on doing YouTube videos that were doing analysis, were doing tricks and Dragon Ball Z and different fighting games. So what I always thought that there was like a deeper level. Okay, level, because everything connects. So basically, what happened was I thought that like reviews and analysis and stuff like that should be about anime and fighting games should be more like film analysis videos. You know how you
Yes.
used to watch like old cinema videos and like old
Yes.
like I watched this breakdown of The Shining back in
Yes.
like maybe 2011, 2012, I'm not sure, but years ago I watched The Shining, maybe even earlier than that. But anyway, I watched the film analysis for it.
Hmm.
And when I watched the film analysis for it, it broke down the movie, but it also was like in a very academic way. So I was like, I want to do academic analysis for The Matrix and Dragon Ball Z and whatever else I like. So I did a breakdown about, how like Vegeta and Goku is like a representation of like anime Jesus, and like Neo is also Jesus, and just trying to connect as many
That's
things I
tight.
could as
That's tight. Yeah.
as
Some
possible, and
very
like
huge
how
stuff.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
Goku is like symbolic for Superman, and Vegeta's like Batman. He's like the anti-hero. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing, and breaking all that stuff down, but doing it in an academic way,
Very on point.
and and also about race, like how like Frieza and the they call the Saiyans monkeys. Like
Monkeys, yo, monkeys.
yeah, there's like so many different layers in that show, and how working together is a central part of that show. Like they can't defeat anybody without working together, taking it to the next level with Super Saiyans and stuff like that. So anyway, I started doing videos about that, and then I started doing cinema breakdowns for the intros to like Tekken 3 and Tag and stuff like that. And I just started breaking down like the cinematography of it, like how what was the pacing like, and what were they trying to convey, and what was the emotion behind it, and trying to do art talks for fighting games. And I eventually did a small documentary that talked about how race and politics affected arcades existence in the States, because people always say like they're dead is because consoles came out and they're superior, right? But like, what about Japan?
Mm-hmm.
I just left. They got tons of arcade. They just put a new arcade and they replaced it with the Sega Akihabara. So
Facts.
maybe not Akihabara, but they replaced one of the Sega towers and put a new arcade there. I think it's a Gijo or Gigo, one of the new ones. But what I'm saying is like, why does Japan still have arcades? And
Mm-hmm.
the consoles definitely had a part in that, but it was also part of the infrastructure and just what America's values are. There's a lot of different things structurally that exist in Japan that work differently, totally differently in Japan, because their society is totally different.
Come on.
And also they make those games and a lot of those cabinets too. So there's
There we
many
go.
reasons behind it, but I made a video about that, and srksureyoucan.com, they picked it up, and that was like the first. And even Markman, like Tekken, figurehead, he
Yeah.
even
Big
like
dog.
shared it. I was like, no, I was like not even started. This was years and years before Arcade Press. And I had weird work hours, and I woke up in like the middle of the day, and I saw that this video had these views and it had all this love, and people were tweeting it, talking about what a great video breaking down how race affected. And a lot of the comments on that video and the people who watched it thought it was like stupid. They were like, dude, it was consoles. Why'd you make this 20-minute long video? And but it didn't really matter, because I got such a big nod from such great people over a video I put so much time into, that was so underground and guerrilla, no studio equipment, just basic, editing, basic everything. You know what I'm saying? How I like to do it, and it just got a lot of love. And that video was like the start of making that kind of content, and doing more of that. And so yeah. And I don't even know how they found it. I guess I tweeted it and tagged people in it. I guess that's how they found the video. But
Hey,
yeah,
it
there
was
you go.
supposed to go up. It's the information, man. We're
Yeah.
all